quite a bit has happened with Fallout 76 over the past 24 hours. A few data mines that I briefly want to touch on, some updates around future content from Bethesda, including some content delays, as well as some new things that actually are on the way. The war on Bethesda has begun, as kind of funny or silly as that has become. And yeah, in this video I hope to give you a nice update on some of the latest Fallout 76 news. But first and foremost, taking a look at the Inside the Vault article. After not having one last week, we do have a new one just today. And one of the first things they go over are several content delays. Things currently in the PTS, or kind of in the PTS, that are no longer going to be a part of patch 20. That being legendary perks and the Wendigo Colossus event. For legendary perks, they describe how they decided to shift this feature so that we have more time to review the current legendary perk system, make changes, perform testing, and ask you for additional feedback. And some of the changes they plan to bring are going to make it so you can swap legendary perks in and out at any time in exchange for a few perk coins. Perk coins are what you get from scrapping regular perk cards, as well as save your legendary perk selections even if you haven't filled all of your available slots. And then from there, create new legendary perks as well as change some of the existing ones based on community discussions. So overall, the second part is good. The first part I don't really get. If you're not familiar, in the original iteration that we used to have on the PTS, the way legendary perks worked was you could just shift them freely, like regular perk cards. You would unlock the slot, but there was no cost associated with swapping out perk cards. The only costs were ranking up the perk cards as well as unlocking additional slots. So it's odd to me how they're now associating a cost with switching these out. I don't really think anyone was asking for additional costs around this. But outside of that, I think all these changes are good. I'm actually pretty happy to see this from Bethesda. Rather than just getting it out, they're actually going to go back to the drawing board somewhat, add in some new perks, change around the benefits of some of the existing ones. The concept is really strong, and I feel like sometimes this is where Bethesda gets hung up. They have a good idea, but the execution doesn't land perfectly and they just never fix it. So it's really cool to see them actually doing that and taking the feedback to heart this time. For a Colossal Problem, they mention how even though the event is working well and feedback from PTS players has been mostly positive, pushing it back will give them more time to perform additional internal testing, make performance improvements, and add another layer of polish to make sure the event is completely ready for release. Overall, I thought this event was fine. I actually really enjoyed it. One way I think they could easily improve this is make it a bit more complex than just kill the Wendigo Colossus. Maybe gamify some of the features a bit more, add a few steps in, which is actually something they're planning to do but didn't end up going that route. I think it's a bit odd how they're delaying it, but hey, if it's going to be a delay and we get better content in the end, I'm all for it. Although I'm definitely curious to see how exactly they change this. But they do reaffirm with patch 20, we still are getting public teams and we still are getting the season system. Seasons will go live with patch 20. They mention how a deeper dive on seasons is coming itself a little later this month, which is interesting. We still don't know when update 20 is. It seemed like it might be coming at the end of June. Likely this deeper dive will come on a Thursday Inside the Vault article, so it'll be probably a Tuesday following one of the next Thursdays. Although an important reminder, on the 18th of June, Bethesda is still listed as releasing a gameplay trailer around Fallout 76's Year 2 roadmap. Perhaps to coincide with this, we get a deeper dive on seasons, or maybe that comes in the subsequent week. Either way though, next week there'll be some bigger news. Even further, right now in game, the mystery pick event is live, so if you want to spend some of your script on that instead of saving them for legendary modules, you can do so. I actually blew several hundred yesterday, not realizing this was coming today, which was not a good move by me. Outside of that, a few more of the data mines around Fallout 76. One of the things I showed you a while back is the R91 skin. This is in the files. Unfortunately, it's looking like it's going to be an Atomic Shop skin, although fortunately it could make the assault rifle far more bearable. But we actually got somebody putting it in game and giving us a bit of gameplay as to what that will actually look like, which is really cool. I'll link to the full video down below if you want to check it out for yourself, as well as this Discord. And overall, this is still so bittersweet. On one hand, it looks cool. It's a really nice addition to the game. On the other hand, it still is so frustrating that Bethesda is going the route of adding in things like this, which are really high quality, as a weapon skin that's a microtransaction instead of just adding in a new weapon. I don't want the weapon to be a microtransaction, it just seems like almost wasted potential in a way. Outside of that, one of the other odd things with the game is the Scorch Beast Queen. Many of you remember with Wastelanders that the Scorch Beast Queen got a change where it no longer could be crippled. This was immensely valuable because if you cripple it, it doesn't fly around as much, making it so it was just way easier to hit and way easier to complete that event. With Wastelanders, they changed this, so you again could no longer cripple it, but community managers were quick to mention this was a bug and would be fixed. Except since then, which is now almost 2 months ago, we haven't heard much. And some of the data miners doing a bit of digging into this definitely makes it seem like it isn't an accidental bug, as what was created was a unique effect on the Scorch Beast Queen, making it immune to limb damage. It's not like it was a value change, it was something totally new applied only to this creature. So maybe they were just testing this and it was never meant to go live, but it again has almost been 2 months and there's been no new talk around reverting it. But then let's look at this very odd or questionable war on Bethesda. I mentioned this somewhat yesterday, but this hypothetical war in Bethesda technically began today. Basically, over Fallout 76's lifespan, Bethesda has been progressively rolling back PvP features. Initially, PvP was intended to be a large part of the game, but it just never panned out. People didn't use it and just don't really like it. And just recently it was mentioned how if you're on a team and you start a fight with another person on another team, no longer will both teams be fully aggro to each other, it'll just be the two individuals who are aggro to each other. And although this change does seem relatively minor, for people who enjoyed team-on-team combat, it is kind of a larger change. You'll now have to individually start PvP combat with each member themselves. Large in part though, I would say this is more so the straw that broke the camel's back as being some huge issue in and of itself. So what's actually happened with this? Well, we've seen some posts like this where users are trying to give away hacked-in weapons from one of the exploits or hacks that was available late last year, where you could create legendary items. This kind of funny declaration of war message has been posted around on some of the Fallout 76 discords, describing how they want to crash servers, actually grief other players, setting frustration around such a large grind around getting good PvP gear, only for this now to not be as much of a thing with the team change. And there's actually been some videos of this in action. Again, using one of these hacked-in weapons, which is a minigun that fires mini nukes, which, yeah, that is actually kind of insane, and just spamming that in hopes to create enough lag that a server eventually goes down. I've seen a lot of people actually concerned about this, but if you play the game, you're gonna find this. It's basically the same. There are very few people actually participating in this war on Bethesda, so don't freak out, don't fret. You could just literally server hop and you'll be 100% a-okay because it really isn't even all that widespread. I have yet to encounter any of this myself. I've just seen videos posted online, and even then there's not that many. Somewhat related to this, there was recently a post to go up which many people have been posting around, where somebody using this, actually spamming mini nukes with one of these hacked-in weapons, apparently found a way to steal another player's items off his character, very similar to the inventory steal hack that was around last year. Apparently has video evidence that was submitted to Bethesda, but he has yet to post that online, yet to PM it to anyone, and I actually think this may be somebody that's trying to cause a bunch of fear around this. So if you heard about this, I would not believe it until actual proof is posted. And again, nobody else has reported this happening. So overall, I honestly find this more amusing than anything else. I wouldn't be shocked if several of these players end up getting bans, as there's been a lot of reporting about this to Bethesda, even before the war itself actually started. But as I mentioned in yesterday's video, it definitely does raise an interesting discussion. Should Fallout 76 have more PvP, or should it just be removed outright? It seems pretty clear right now, the vast majority of the audience is not interested in PvP. It just really never took off as part of the game. There's a dedicated subset that do enjoy it, and then even further, what I think, a silent minority that enjoy it but hate it in the game. And actually, I would fall into that category. I really like PvP games. I like competitive games, and I wanted to love Fallout 76 PvP. When I originally heard about this game and went to that Greenbrier event to play it for myself, one of the first things I wanted to do was start a trap house and actually try and kill some of the other players. The reason I don't participate in PvP that much is because it's bad. Between the bugginess or just lack of content around the nuclear winter mode, the questionable updates and decisions around the survival mode, and just the utter lack of good PvP combat in the adventure mode, I have very little interest in partaking in a serious manner. So I really don't think the message will get across with this war on Bethesda, with griefing other players, trying to take down servers. But I do definitely think Bethesda should have some internal discussions around a better PvP experience. Bring back survival mode and add in those survival seasons they talked about. In one interview, Todd Howard described how in survival mode, maybe it requires a new character, and maybe every month or couple of months the game rules would change, trying out different things, different way to make a survival mode work with this game. I loved that. I thought that sounded amazing, except that never actually happened. They just ended up removing the survival mode, or even just a different type of game mode. I still think it's so bizarre that of all the secondary game modes to add, they brought a battle royale. Why would you add in one of the most consequential PvP game modes there is, where you literally have one life and you're done? You have to start over after that. Adding something like a base wars or a TDM mode where maybe you have to work together with other users to build up a little fort, then defend it or attack some other player's fort, where you actually can respawn and it isn't as punishing, could be way more fun. There's a lot of cool concepts for PvP in Fallout 76, or even just add in additional ways to make PvP game modes on private servers. But at the same time, removing PvP for adventure mode seems like it would please the most people, and then subsequently adding in some other outlet for PvPers to enjoy. Either way, those are my thoughts on that one. And one final note, right now on Bethesda.net, Fallout 76 has a pretty big 40% off sale going on. I assume most of you watching a Fallout 76 news video already own the game, although the unique thing about this aspect is it'll actually carry over to the public test server access. So if you buy this, you can gain access to the public test server. Let's say you only own it on consoles, or maybe you just want to try out PC in general. Either way, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you found it informative. As always, again, I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.